how much do you buy a liter of petrol where you live? And how are you coping with the long queues? After this break, I'll be joined by Group Chief Executive Officer of the NNPC, Kyari, as we talk about the removal of fuel subsidies. Stay with us.
I, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, do solemnly.
Well, despite various queues at fuel stations, the Group CEO of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Kyari, has allayed the fears of many Nigerians on the rising prices of petrol across Nigeria. The head of the agency predicted that competition between significant participants in the oil industry would indeed drive down petrol prices. In fact, some state governments have also cautioned oil marketers on sudden increase of pump price in the wave of the subsidy removal. But what are the interventions put in place by the federal government to cushion the effect on the people? And how well do you understand the removal of the petrol subsidy? Joining me is the Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPC Limited, Kyari, live from Abuja. Thank you for joining us on the program this evening. So I got my first subsidy-free petrol today at as high as 300% in Lagos. And I had to queue for some 2 hours to make that happen. But the question on the lips of many would be, why the sudden sharp increase when it's not yet the end of June?
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening, and good to hear you, and a privilege to speak to you on this platform. First and foremost, June is the perceived date of the withdrawal of subsidy. Really, what it really June means, end of June means, is that the provision of subsidy in the Appropriation Act terminates at the end of June. It doesn't mean you have cash available for you to offset the cost of subsidy up to the end of June. Yes, it's very true. There's an appropriation of 3.7 trillion naira for subsidy cost in up to the middle of the year. That is up to the end of June. And that's different from having the money to pay for it. I can tell you, since 2022, the federal government is not able to defray NNPC's balances of the subsidy cost that we are bearing on behalf of all of us. And that means we are taking NNPC's cash flow to continue to provide fuel at the subsidized rate. And we've just gotten to a point where, unless those payments come, we're unable to continue to supply petroleum product at our cost, because it's eating into our cash flow. It's making us difficult not to focus on other core businesses. As you may be aware, over 30% of our business is only about this business of downstream actually accounts for less than 30% of our business. So it's not our core business. But it is now taking all our energy, all our resources, and we can't continue to. That's why we welcome the change that Mr. President has put on the table. That look, there is no subsidy. Completely correct. The law said there is no pricing of petroleum motor spirit on the basis of pricing that is not by the market. So the PIA is very clear on that. And of course, government has the responsibility and the right to provide for its citizens at any time, any circle that it can. Yes, we agree completely that is true. But when you make provision in budget, you must be also able to finance it. You must give it cash backing. And those cash backing are lacking for very many reasons, because we know that there are constraints around financing and funding in the overall scheme of government in the last 2 years. And we know that is correct. But if you can't do it, you can't give what you have. That is why we welcome the fact that, we have to start now, so otherwise...
And then, Mr. Kyari, we have also heard you talk about how the federal government is still owing the NNPC Limited 2.8 trillion naira on petrol subsidy. But there's a list out there of a new NNPC petrol price per state. Can you confirm its authenticity?
Yeah. First and foremost, the market determines prices going forward. That means that your cost of procurement, other logistic costs, all the way into the fuel station and pump station, every company will make a decision, and the market will regulate this. So what you have seen that is flying around in social media is a typical document that every marketing company does. You have to determine prices by location on the basis of cost, where you are, and so on and so forth. So it's not a cap on pricing. It is not an announcement of pricing. It is actually market pricing by this location as at that date. That means that 3-4 days from now, 1 week from now, when the market condition changes, when you have cheaper product in your hand, you have to go back and review those numbers and come back with lower numbers. This is really what it means. So what you see there is the market reflective cost of petroleum metals at the pumps in our own stations. So we're selling to others at bulk. Remember that we're the only importers of petroleum products today. We sell at the depot level or at the marine level to customers. So it will be their efficiency that will determine their prices at those locations. That means that when you see another company, I don't want to call their names, any other company can actually sell lower than this price in the location that you have seen. So this is what the meaning of competition that introduces efficiency to our system.
But precisely, can you help us understand what the difference is currently between the landing price and the prices quoted in this document?
You see, market, we don't speculate on this anymore because in the landing cost, it's a cost that you incur actually at this station now, cargo by cargo. When you import a cargo, you put a pricing on it. So you don't really talk about landing price today now. You can see for one moment, for one day, you will know your landing cost. And of course, your incidental costs, all of them are variable over a period of time. So we don't speculate on this. I'm not going to tell you this is my landing cost because the market determines this, and they are not secret anyway. Actually, you can take your phone, Google, and see what's the cost of a PMS today in Rotterdam or in the international market. It will tell you. Okay. So it's not secret. I have no determination on it. It changes every day, and then when that happens, it will reflect on our cost.
So now that retail prices of petrol are supposedly determined by what you call the interplay of market forces, the question would be, who ensures that consumers are protected and that some marketers don't overprice the product?
Two things. The market is the best controller of prices because once you have supply that meets the demand, and of course customers have choice, whether in terms of your quality of your service, your customer management system, and so on, and many things that will cover. The first line of defense for the consumer is the market. And of course, as we are going forward, you see a complete market liberalization. Individuals will have choice between filling stations. You will see difference of prices between two filling stations that are next to each other. And these are the choices of the customer. And because your supplier, your customer, or the owner of the fuel station knows that you have choice, that you can go to the next station and get some lower prices or better service, that competition will drive and control what happens to the consumer. And of course, the key thing is guaranteed supply. And I can confirm that we have absolute guarantee of supply until the private sector comes in. And because you have supply, now the other part of it is by law, because you have the Consumer Council, Consumer Protection Council, and also the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Authority. It's their job to ensure that where there are abuses, those abuses are not going to be general. It will be by company basis, maybe even by location, or even by fuel station. Therefore, those abuses, once it is there, the Consumer Protection Council in a larger scale addresses that. And of course, on a narrower level, the authority, which is called the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Authority, will put into effect so that sanctions are there. And of course, the biggest sanction that you have is the market. And I know that the market will take control of this situation.
All right, you have said that competition among major players in the oil sector would, eventually force down the price of petrol as against, the upward trends that have caused panic across the country. From where we are right now, the queues and then people buying up to 600 naira, how soon do you foresee this to happen?
First and foremost, you have seen the queue have vanished. I can just see behind me in our office there, the queues have gone away. They will go away because what really happened was that once you have an indication, not even an announced indication of increase in price, because that's really what it meant. If it were a downward trend, people would have done something different. Because once you have indication that changes to that price could potentially increase prices, two things happens. Customers will rush to fuel stations so that they can take advantage of immediate low prices because it doesn't come into effect. And naturally, when people come into fuel stations, instead of buying 10,000 naira fuel, they will buy 20 because they are not sure of the price that will be the next day. And then the second thing is the marketers themselves, very understandable. This is inventory management. When you know the prices are going to change, the natural thing you are going to do is watch and see what the price will look like. That's why uncertainty in this business is a real issue. That's why we quickly took out the uncertainty and introduced a new pricing system, because no trader, no marketer will sell because he cannot guarantee going back to the market to replenish his stock. This is very simple market condition. So that is why holding back by traders and also the rush by customers resulted in the queue. Now that there's clarity and sanity around the pricing environment, you will see that these queues will vanish. And I can tell you that in most parts of Abuja, it doesn't exist. In very many parts of the country, we are monitoring this, and there's clearly an indication that this will vanish in the next maximum 2 days. But this is natural. Then when people now come to the real market prices, they will make their choices appropriately. If you want to fill your tank, you will do it. When you want to make half tank, you will do it. I think this is really the market coming into play, and we believe that this will vanish very, very quickly.
Perhaps
and of course,
the biggest...
talking about when is price going to come down, let me come down. When you talk about when our price is going to come down,
yes,
two things will happen. Efficiency will come in. That means that even though the bulk purchase price is high, probably at a level, you will see customers and marketing company will introduce certain efficiencies that will make sure that delivery of product to their location, to their fuel station comes at a very low price, and that will come down naturally, even if current condition of pricing persists. But the second thing is that the PMS of petrol is governed by pricing in international market. As you have seen, and as everybody watches, every day there are some changes to prices. You see gallops, it goes down, it comes down, and marketers always adjust to meet those prices. And therefore, you will see gradual decline in price because of efficiency that will naturally come. And secondly, potentially, this voodoo, you can't tell what was going to happen, but naturally, when the market prices go down, prices of commodities will go down. And of course, more players will come in, as you may be aware. This will introduce new vintage of supply into the system. Whether it is domestic or international, we know that new players will come in, supply will be robust, and therefore when demand does not reach supply, then of course supply becomes higher, naturally price becomes higher. This will happen very naturally. We have seen this play out severally in very many circumstances. Remember the telecoms world, when we came in, a SIM card was 20,000 naira, 80,000 naira, and so on and so forth. But today you are given SIM cards free. I'm not saying that there's any time they are going to get a fuel free, but that doesn't work out with like telecoms. But we know that these prices, the market will determine, it will naturally take its balance, and then of course pricing will come down when the market conditions
okay, let's talk about what happens between now and then, because that's perhaps the biggest concern of many people. Many are anticipating ripple effect in the area of inflation, rise in the price of commodities in the market. They say many people are now saying that the common man, might now be the one who will suffer more due to, how high the price of things will become in the market. And some are suggesting, why not go the route of partial removal of subsidy or gradual removal of it? How do you react to that?
I think that what we need to get clear is, what do really subsidies represent? Subsidy means that, the state, recognizing the pains of its citizen and the need to create certain incentives, decide to provide product in product or services in a way that is below the market. This is really the meaning of subsidy. Now, you do this when you have the resources. So every country does this. You'll find subsidy on bread, subsidy on fertilizer, and so on and so forth. Every country does in different manners. But I'm sure even very developed countries have reacted in certain circumstances, even giving companies, money that they don't have to pay back eventually. So countries react differently to different circumstances, but they are all anchored around ability to pay. And ability to pay means that you must have the resources to do it. When you have subsidy budget for a year and a half and you are not able to fund it for one day, that means that you are not capable of providing that subsidy. You do not have the resources to do this, and therefore you have other competing needs that probably have a bigger scale of concern to you than it is. So therefore, you don't have the cash. Now, when you don't have the cash, you cannot talk about subsidy. This is where we are. The state is not capable of providing this subsidy because it doesn't have those resources.
Okay.
And once you don't have those resources, you don't talk about anything else other than, look, how do I survive? And once you survive, the pains will come, no doubt about it. Once you have changes to price of energy, cost of transportation will be impacted, no doubt about it. There will be knee-jerk reactions immediately. Transporters will raise the prices beyond the incremental cost of the fuel that were. This is very understandable. It always happens, but it always comes down. It will normalize because the customer now has choice. So after all, why do I even have to go out of the house? There are movements that you don't do. That
I like your optimism, Mr. Kyari,
yes.
And I'm told that we also have to let you go so you can attend to other meetings. But I want you to quickly speak to how optimistic you are as to whether or not government will be able to carry labor unions along, because I know that you have joined in one or two of these meetings. You saw in 2012 how Nigerians reacted to this move. How do you think it will, fare moving forward? Being in that meeting and you saw the negotiation yourself.
Yes, obviously there are concerns, and as part of that, there was engagement. Labour will have made it very clear to Labour and my colleagues. Remember that I'm a former comrade and I've been part of this. And we made it very clear that it's really not about subsidy today, and your ability to provide it. And of course, it comes with impacts. And those impacts will come on the basis of having higher prices of commodities and also ability of workers to actually meet their basic requirements. So for you to meet this, something must change. And that's why Mr. President, in his wisdom, has said that, look, there must be some interventions. Those interventions be discussed so that the suffering of the vulnerable, including workers, be addressed. And I think that's why the conversation with the union will terminate. There is going to be engagement. We're going to meet them very soon so that we can see, look, how can we intervene so that the vulnerable don't suffer, and ultimately these changes translate to value to all of us, and of course, so that we would stop subsidizing those who shouldn't have the subsidy in the first instance.
Already the prices are in the roof, Mr. Kyari, so the intervention should be coming. I mean, why the delay? It should happen now because Nigerians already are feeling the heat. Do you agree?
There are things you can do very, very immediately. I know this is going on. Those interventions will be on the table immediately. You will see it. There are long-term interventions and short-term interventions that you can do. But more importantly, you are going to have a balanced economic outlook so that the more prosperity will be created in our country, more people will have access to resources. And of course, ultimately, you will see that the immediate effect may be painful, but the long term is really, really belated. It will happen. And I'm very sure that Nigerians will see the wisdom in taking this decision at this point in time so that ultimately value comes back to all of us.
Group CEO, NNPC Limited, Kyari, thank you for talking to us on the program.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.